Okay, go ahead.
Hi, good evening, everyone. I'm Elizabeth Abrahams Reardon. I know you have some background, but the theme for SOMA's 2024 is navigating change together, fostering collaboration for a sustainable future. Um, our workshop is entitled Curating Change Through Collaboration, and tonight we'll bring you through our workshop, and hopefully we can do some back and forth questions, or also Professor Laporte has given us some questions ahead of time. So we'll do the little raise the hand emoji at the end. We have five speakers. So let me give you a little bit of background. Uh, in carefully curating a team of collaborating foundations, the LaPica project hopes to shift the paradigm on charitable initiatives. The LaPica project will convert a former youth incarceration facility in Jayuya, Puerto Rico, into a community center for education and skills development. The project aims to cultivate an environment where all on-site individuals and the collective community will thrive. Tonight, we'll address the challenges children and young adults face in the education and work development system in Puerto Rico. These difficulties are multiplied when their societal status involves a disability, housing and food insecurity, the foster care system, and lack of access. So, with diverse collaboration, we can create culturally sensitive and inclusive strategies to support the Hispanic Latino families in Puerto Rico. Access to resources is necessary for a more stable future, to preserve the local cultural history in its land, and to create sustainable socio-economic growth. Our first speaker is Adalberto de Jesus, and I will make sure that he says his name properly. I hope I gave him the proper introduction. He is our agricultural lead and also a Jayuya resident and grew up there. So, I'll, are you there? Can we start?
Sí.
Yes. Okay,
Okay.
perfect.
Well, I'm gonna speak in Spanish. So,
Perfect, perfect, perfect.
sí, eh, mi primer lenguaje en español, así que gracias por la oportunidad. Estamos aquí ahora mismo en Jayuya. Estamos en la Pica de Jayuya. Eh, no sé si me pueden escuchar bien.
Sí, sí, te escuchamos bien.
Ok. Así que desde niño crecí en esta comunidad. Llevo tengo 40 años, soy agrónomo de profesión. Mi nombre es Adalberto de Jesús. Y desde niño, ¿verdad? He visto como el área del campamento de la Pica ha sido eh, un espacio donde las personas que ha sido una cárcel donde muchas personas que han cometido faltas, pues han tenido que cumplir, ¿verdad? Su condena en la Pica, pues in- indiferentemente de lo que hayan cometido, pues han estado presos en esa cárcel. Una vez decidieron cerrar esa cárcel, pues yo vi una oportunidad de desarrollar algo dentro de esa propiedad que en vez de ser una cárcel en una o un lugar donde la persona no puede desarrollar sus habilidades, pues dentro de la oportunidad que hemos visto, pues vamos a desarrollar un lugar donde los niños de niños que no han tenido la oportunidad de desarrollar o de tener la oportunidad de tener esta libertad, ¿verdad? De desarrollar sus talentos. Estamos ahora mismo en perdone que estoy un poquito nervioso, ¿verdad? Estoy ahora mismo aquí en Jayuya.
No te preocupes, brother.
Lo que era, ¿verdad? Antes de ser lo que va a ser ahora mismo, era una cárcel, ahora va a ser un lugar donde los niños puedan desarrollar su oportunidad de hacer su hogar, de hacer su casa, que es lo que queremos nosotros, ¿verdad? Llevar a cabo dentro de un espacio que siempre ha sido simbólicamente o literalmente una cárcel, va a ser su hogar, que es lo bonito, que es lo que nosotros queremos, que esto se vea reflejado en la comunidad de La Pica. Desde el 1984 esto ha sido mi hogar. Yo tengo 40 años, soy agrónomo de profesión y por 40 años hemos visto que esta propiedad ha sido un lugar donde las personas tienen que cumplir una pena o una condena eh, de los errores que quizás en el pasado hayan cometido, mas sin embargo, de hoy en adelante va a ser un lugar donde niños van a llevar a cabo o van a cumplir su sueño de tener un hogar donde puedan desarrollar sus talentos y donde puedan llevar a cabo eh, el desarrollo de lo que de ahora en adelante va a ser su futuro. Yo profesionalmente, ¿verdad? Como les dije, soy agrónomo de profesión. Dentro del proyecto de Somos y de Sembrando Semillas, voy a estar colaborando con la parte agrícola, que es el duro o el fuerte mío. Y en el proyecto como tal, vamos a estar desarrollando el proyecto de lo que es producción agrícola, que incluye producción de animales de granja. Dentro de eso incluye la producción de huevos del país, producción de carne de conejo, producción de rumiantes, que eso incluye lo que es capricultura, ovicultura y porcinocultura. Dentro de lo que es el proyecto agrícola, en la propiedad de la cárcel, de lo que es el proyecto agrícola, existe una, un, un área donde está la granja de cerdo que comprende de más o menos 15 cuerdas, donde se puede producir cerdo, donde se puede producir carne de conejo, donde se puede producir ovicultura capricultura y producción de huevos. De mi parte, les puedo decir que el proyecto se puede sostener con todos los programas agrícolas que podamos implementar en el proyecto como tal, y los niños pueden participar de todas esas oportunidades que tenemos, siempre y cuando podamos cumplir, ¿verdad?, con los requisitos que el sistema nos pueda permitir que los niños puedan participar de los programas. So, ese es mi background y estamos a las órdenes en las preguntas que tengan o las dudas que tengan, estamos a las órdenes para contestar. Eddie.
Alberto, yo traducí lo que tú dijiste en el chat para que los estudiantes tengan una idea de lo que tú estabas hablando, ¿ok?
Perfecto.
Hiciste un trabajo excelente.
Gracias.
So, folks, students, if you want to have a sense of what Alberto was talking about, I tried my best to translate what he was saying in the chat so you'll have an idea of what his role is as an agriculturalist for La Pica. Go ahead, Elizabeth. Oh, she froze. Okay. So who would be next? Is that Jimmy? So go ahead, Jimmy. So Jimmy Bell is an ex-NFL football player. He is a motivational speaker. He is a charitable individual, and he believes in the La Pica project in Puerto Rico. So, Jimmy, I know I did you a disservice of trying to introduce yourself because of the great work you do. So please introduce yourself to the team, to the students. Let them know who you are and then how you got to where you're at in working with La Pica.
Absolutely, guys. I'm excited to be here. And Eddie, nothing you do is a disservice, homie. You know that. Come on, man. I understand. I'm humble too. A wise man once told me a long time ago, humility is not hiding your gift in your light. Humility is just simply acknowledging who buttered and baked the bread. You know what I'm saying? So we're all incredible people. I appreciate that introduction. You were perfect, Eddie. But guys, my name is Jimmy Bell. I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to present to you guys. Your time is valuable. I take what I do very seriously. Like I was said, I am a motivational speaker in the life coach across the country. I'm also an entrepreneur, but I do believe in 100% doing whatever God told me to do, and I believe that's why I'm here, not just with you, not just part of the project, but with you right now. But my space in this project may be a little unique to what you guys may kind of even think how I fit. But the way I look at it is athletics creates progress. I even had to learn that athletics do create progress. So guys, I'm from Youngstown, Ohio. If you guys do your research on Youngstown, Ohio is known as one of the more rough places to grow up in the country, from economics to education. What the reasoning why is back in the day, it used to be the center of the steel mill progression on the East Coast of all the steel mill used to go across the country. So with that being said, my dad and my mom introduced me to two super important things. One is hard work. The other one is education. My dad is a migrant from deep South Montgomery, Alabama, from a sharecropping family, got into the steel mills and ended up supporting his family through a major car plant in the area. My mom is a retired detective sergeant who used education as well as raising a family, also working in a car plant, but knowing in her mind that education was going to be her space to how she created their advantages for us. With that, my mom she was also an educator, and then she ended up becoming a police officer, becoming a detective, and then retiring from Youngstown, Ohio. Guys, ironically enough, athletics in my household was not something that we preached in my home, but I think we did realize through the godly gifts that they ended up seeing in me. They realized that hard work in sports could create a platform that could lead to an exchange. I'm an exchange. I believe that now. I believe we all make exchanges. In that exchange that they realized that sports would do is that exchange was me playing sports was the exchange for colleges to pay for my education. So why am I here? I'm here because my part in this whole project is that I believe that I'm bringing the process of hard work in sports, education, and attitude can lead into the investment of any institution into all of us, not all, us in particular, but the people on the island, the youth of the island, into one of the most viable things in this American construct, because we're in the midst of the American construct. And honestly, on the island, we have to do a ton of a better job of recognizing, dominating, and executing in that American construct. As independent as we are, as independent as we want to be, and we deserve all of that, but we still have a very unique advantage. And that American construct that's there to be offered is an education. There's over, I think, 200 and something athletic institutions on the mainland. And there's no better candidate with athletic prowess, tremendous, incredible attitude, and educational credentials than the people of Puerto Rico being able to take advantage of the U.S. construct for their own advantage. So I believe there's three things that I'm gonna just express that I believe that that how athletics create progress. The first thing is opportunities. Guys, sports has allowed me the opportunity with business, opportunities with education. It's allowed me opportunities to travel. It's given me opportunities that I couldn't even imagine simply through the introduction of the platform of athletics. So I know a lot of people aren't necessarily into athletics, but you still should know and understand the power of the opportunities. And we're responsible for two things, guys, in life. We're responsible for either creating the opportunity or executing the opportunities that are presented to us. No excuses. That's our responsibility, and no one else can dictate. We're going to get one of the two. We have the power and the soul to create, and we also have the fortitude, the dedication, and commitment to execute. The second one is relationships. Athletics breeds relationships. Understand this. Everything that we're all created to do, this project, it can't happen on its own. It's not going to happen. Hang it up. It'll just be a dream, right? It'll be a dream that we all talk about, we all think about, we toss up drinks, and we can say what ifs at one time. If one person's responsible, one person can't be responsible for even the most simplest dream that we all have. We need each other. Athletics have allowed me relationships that I otherwise wouldn't have had. It's allowed people to show trust of people, and not only relationships that I developed on my own, but athletics has allowed me to have a right to the relationships of other people that I have built relationships with. It's the power of athletics. And the last one is just advantage. Listen, America, the American construct, it's not money. It's not even fate. It's education. People look at you different. They treat you different based upon the fact that they consider you educated and at what level you're educated. Using athletics to show the process and the importance of education from Puerto Rico to the mainland, making that a change is going to create the power that I think is going to ignite and excite change. The realization of this athletic facility that we're building on this property is it's going to develop athletes in specific sports. It's going to develop positive, hardworking attitude. It's going to develop the education skills and accreditation that makes us all indicators to the top candidates of an institution to make an investment in us, to make an investment in our kids, to make an investment in our families. I'm excited to be here, like I said, because this project is going to be part of my legacy that I'm going to be associated with, that I'm going to be excited to look down and see from decades after I'm gone. So I appreciate you guys giving me the opportunity to share.
All right. Thank you, Jimmy. Not sure that there we go, Elizabeth.
Yes, I'm up next. I'm on my phone now. I apologize, everyone. Some virtual difficulties. Luckily, we'll be in person at Somos, and we can avoid that a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and read Alestra's part. Alestra is part of our education plan at La Pica, and she's unable to be a part of the panel tonight because she's on a flight. So I'm going to go ahead and read what she sent to me, and then we can expand on her part with David at the end. So I'm Alestra. I am Alestra Flores Menendez. I have been an educator for 20 years across diverse contexts. I began my career as a primary school teacher. Since then, I have served as a literacy coach and a college English instructor. I helped to design a national K-8 science curriculum at UC Berkeley's Lawrence Hall of Science that is used in New York City schools. Most recently, I worked with educators in Puerto Rico to strengthen literacy skills. I met some of the most talented and dedicated teachers in Arecibo, Hatillo, and Manati. David, you'll correct my cities.
That's
okay. Like those teachers, it is my passion and calling to empower all students to reach their full potential, including students with special needs. I believe education is a devotion to the freedom and fulfillment of those we teach. Our project in Jayuya is fully dedicated to preparing learners of all ages and abilities for a bright future. This means education must be connected to real life and factor in the virtues of dignified work, where all individuals are encouraged to think for themselves. The outcome of this education is to aspire to ongoing personal transformation and growth. The Sembrando Semillas project is going to transform this place formerly designed for detention to a place for personal liberation through education. In this multi-generational model, education is provided for the community by the community. It is a collaboration between local education leaders and award-winning partners like CWE, Free, the Children's Village, and others that have implemented successful programs for decades. We truly believe that education is a lifelong endeavor and the most impactful way to change lives. So unfortunately, Alestra couldn't be with us tonight, and we'll expand on the education through questioning later and through David's wrap up. So our next speaker is John McDermott. He is from CWE. And John, you want to give yourself a longer introduction and then jump into your panel piece?
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Elizabeth, and thank you to Alestra. I'm sorry she couldn't make it. She's always a dynamic presence. My name is John McDermott. I am the formerly the Director of Strategic Partnerships for a group called the Consortium for Worker Education, a workforce development and economic development group in New York. And the past 15 years, on and off, I've worked with a guy by the name of David Aviles on a number of community empowerment and just a whole bunch of programming, from affordable housing to financial literacy, whatever community needs. David seems to be there. And it's, by the way, we should have done this at the start. It's David's vision here. And this is the partnership that David put together of these extraordinary individuals. And we're coming together for this project. So, but what I want to talk about is in my career, first as a construction worker, a union member, an organizer, through politics, into economic development and education, I've never seen a project with as much potential for economic impact, robust partnership, generational wealth creation. I mean, it really is extraordinary. So after all of our partnerships, David calls me up about 3 years ago and goes, "Hey, listen, I got a prison for us." And I'm like, "I didn't know we needed a prison, but okay, what are you talking about?" And after finding out what this was about, go back to about a year ago, where we were standing in the municipality of Vahiuja in the hills of Boponce, looking at a former incarceration facility for young people, which is about as horrible as you want to get. And we're talking about the potentiality of making this into a model for, nationally, internationally, for how we reapproach societal development. I don't want to get too far down the road with superlatives, but where you are as students learning about this sort of thing, I want you to think about this as a whiteboard, right? Because we have the ability here to change a lot in a society that needs a lot, in a place that has been marginalized and neglected. And we have a partnership that's ready to offer all this talent and time to make sure that we do this right. So let me just walk through some of my notes that I've developed in the process about how we do what we're going to do. So the first thing, the primary objective here, is to take a prison for young people and turn it into a training center that will give that goes all the way through primary education, post-secondary, that supports former foster care children, gives young people a pathway through the acquisition of industrial skills, but also serves as a location for business development, for, it's an, as Alberto, went through, as a locus for agricultural business development, a self-sustaining community that really will economically uplift the surrounding municipalities. So I want to go through a couple of things about how I would want to approach this. The first thing is partnership. Nothing we do in this world that's really impactful is going to exist without partnership, especially when you get into social economic impact. So for this, my friend David has built an extraordinary partnership of individuals and organizations that have particular expertise, that each have their own lane. So we've got Free Children's Village, who are experts in taking care of young people and bringing them along. The local municipalities. And here's a big lesson. You want to move the needle anywhere, you're not going to be able to do so without a partnership with local government. It's critical. Just the buy-in, the smoothing the process. My own group, CWE, we're here to provide industry-specific job training and business development. The other thing is funding. So we're converting 300 acres and a defunct prison to a training center. So we are in negotiations for funding for the physical rehabilitation, but also we have to develop funding for the long-term sustained operation, administration, and maintenance of that facility. So things like the sports center becomes a draw for other funding. But the business development becomes a draw for other funding. And the funding I'm talking about is largely federal, U.S. federal, which is while allocated, is underexpended in Puerto Rico. So we want to take advantage of that. So in our model, we're trying to create something that is educational, socially supportive, but doesn't always pay for itself. So we have to go out on these limbs and develop these regional business development opportunities. Agriculture, it's critical. Now, if you look at the agricultural sector of Puerto Rico, you've got this vibrant island, fertile land. But what's needed is this, training and bring the next generation of agricultural business online. As Alberto was talking about, there's a nascent farm to table movement in PR. It's really difficult to get fresh fruit and vegetables in Puerto Rico, which is counterintuitive. So this is something that can be developed. The other thing that we're looking at as a possibility for sustainable funding is the development of affordable housing, supportive housing for both the people who are participating or benefiting from La Pica, but also supportive senior housing. The reason this is of interest is that these are federal dollars that we could draw. There are also in the surrounding municipalities hundreds of defunct, vacant, abandoned, hurricane damaged properties that we could be developing into affordable housing. Now, why is that of interest? Well, that's nice, but there's a huge acute housing need in Puerto Rico. Additionally, there's a lot of public dollars available to do that. But we also need the business that's going to sustain local workers who we want to train. Where are these young people going to find their careers? In construction, transportation, manufacturing, agriculture. There's a whole need for a new infrastructure in terms of the electric grid, in terms of sustainable housing that's both dignified and also will survive a hurricane. There's a lot of rebuilding to be done, even years after Hurricane Maria, but in preparation for other emergencies. So we want to be able to train the workforce, but also develop the economy regionally that will absorb the trained workforce. These things become self-perpetuating. They're symbiotic economically. And that's really where we want to go. In terms of upcoming jobs, a good source for understanding of a region is the United States Bureau of Labor Statistics. You can access a whole range of data when you're looking at a project. Where are the jobs? What is in-demand occupation? How should we prepare the workforce? What do we want to prepare them for? So without going too deep, because we don't have a lot of time, our role, or my role working with David, is going to be bringing the workforce development aspect and the economic development aspect in partnership with local communities. I don't want to assume that we know anything about these needs without first consulting the local communities. What do they need? What do they want? So there's a process here that's incumbent on the partnership. It's consultative. We're talking to the local municipalities. We're talking to local community groups, the not-for-profits, the faith institutions. What do you need? And so this is the consensus we're building moving into it. But we do this based on what the project is going to need long-term. We're going to need the funding to build it now, but we're also going to need the long-term funding. And this has to be anticipated. It has to be prepared for it. And it has to be really charted out as you kick off. You can start off a totally kick-ass project, get 3 years in, and realize you don't have the return on investment in terms of local economy to sustain it. So really one of the interesting things as we develop this together is having that 5-year, 10-year, 20-year plan. The possibilities, and I'm going to wrap up with this, the possibilities of our ability to impact the regional economy are almost limitless. Once you bring in these partnerships, once you aggregate available public services and dollars, we can be addressing education, community health, financial education, home ownership, career, like long-term prep and engagement, the creation of jobs. All of these things speak to the ultimate goal of economic development, which is the creation of foundational, multi-generational wealth. So we're talking about part of Puerto Rico that has really been, well, as all of Puerto Rico, forgive my impressions on this, but neglected by the federal government. We have a chance here to really bring those things into focus and uplift and empower the local community. And I think once we do that in partnership with the municipalities, our local mayors, we really have something that we can demonstrate long term. This is a model, and it's a model built on partnership of education, sports, social service, housing, and economic development. So that's my piece.
Thank you, John.
All right.
Elizabeth, you're muted.
Yes, I'm just trying to, the iPhone is very tricky on Zoom. Okay, so John did really touch on a lot. David Aviles, our visionary that started the project with Adalberto. Are you still there, David?
Yep.
Okay, awesome. So I know that you can edit on the fly. So why don't we do like the next 10 minutes? What are we at? It's 8:22. So you will stop, take 10 minutes if you want to touch on what John didn't touch on and or start from the beginning, however you'd like to do it, because we're adjusting a little bit tonight. And then we will have some time left in the class to field any questions. And I wanted to discuss a few of what Eddie sent us earlier. So go ahead, David.
Absolutely. David Aviles, Executive Director for the United Clergy Task Force. First of all, I want to thank God for this opportunity because, without him, we wouldn't be here. All I can say is that this project came to me after I got here on a humanitarian effort for Maria. I came here to do a humanitarian effort, and basically, it's kind of grabbed me. The island kind of grabbed me, and it kind of, it took hold of me, and I started to see some of the needs here in the island. And I am Puerto Rican. My mom is from Guayama, and I've come here all my life. During the summertime. And basically never really kind of grasped, everything that was going on down here. I came down here because, you want to have fun and you want to enjoy the sun and you want to enjoy the good food and you want to enjoy family, and then you leave, and you don't really grasp everything that's going on down here. Maria showed me one of the things that it showed me about, the resiliency of Puerto Ricans is that Puerto Ricans saved Puerto Rico during Maria because we had no help from Trump. There was no money that came down here for any help. So at the end of the day, it was moms and pops, it was aunts and uncles, it was brothers and sisters, it was neighbors, it was people coming from the States that would come down here and cook for 30 or 40 people. We came down here with a group of people, and we went to Yabucoa and Humacao with a storm hit where it first came in. And I remember seeing people sitting where their house used to be, and there was no house there. I remember walking into a house and there was a 102-year-old man that was there by himself. But luckily enough, he was being helped by his neighbors, and they were feeding him. And what it showed me was the resiliency that these folks have without any help from anyone, and without complaining about anything. And I started to think about, all the things that John mentioned that we did in the United States. I do a lot of things, a lot of different things. I have an award-winning school right now that I'm very proud of. That is a Blue Ribbon School in Brooklyn, in East New York, and one of the worst places of New York. And I'll talk a little bit about that as we go along. But to go back, Puerto Rico saved Puerto Rico, which showed me that, they could really do something for themselves if they had the opportunity, if they had the chance, if they had the education, if they had the training, if they had the certificates, if they had the know-how, if they had the business savvy, if they had, childcare that was good, if they had, you know, elderly care that was good, if they had, you know, so many issues with foster care kids. I mean, I remember the child in my house that I thought she was my cousin, and everybody thought that she was our cousin, but she wasn't. She was somebody else's daughter that my mother took in because that's what they did. And that was, 40 plus years ago. At the end of the day, that still goes on in Puerto Rico. And we still have caregivers that never get a penny or a dime from anywhere. And they take care of these kids, that had their parents were killed, or they left them, or they went to work to get a job and pay for things and bring money back home. Those types of things still go on here in a big way. And folks with special needs are not properly paid attention to. They're at home. They're just living life. It's not the way to live. And I started to see all of these things, and I started to visit family, and I started to visit, people in the area, and I started to talk to people, because you come to, you think because you're Puerto Rican and you come to your island that believe that you know everything, but it's not true. Not true. You have to sit down with the folks here and talk to them and see what their thoughts are and see what they're thinking about and see how they live their life here. Because as opposed to the way we live our lives over there, I remember when my parents, when they first came to the United States, and they basically had a community of people that came with them, their brothers, their sisters. Everybody was good morning, good afternoon, Dios te bendiga, just really a community of people. And I got that when I came back here. When I came back here, it was a community of people that kind of embraced me to stay and to really kind of do something that we needed here, because I saw the voids. I just had so many friends in the United States and New York and all over that I kind of said to myself, let's start putting the pieces together. I know schools, so we can put a school here. I know Jeremy. Jeremy runs the Children's Village. We had spoken, and he said, yes, we want to do a foster care center down there. I know the need down there. I know what's going on down there. He was one of the first ones to say yes. And then Robert Budd from Free, which is a special needs and disabilities program out of Long Island, that they have a farm out there. That's amazing. That just, you go out there and you just feel it. You feel everything that's going on. They have a drum corps that won the award 2 years ago. Kids with special needs, adults with special needs. Listen, my sister and my brother-in-law are special needs. I've taken care of them for over 20 years in my life. And the fact is that they're just as normal as everybody else. And if you treat them normally, and if you teach them normal things, they will do normal things. I'm not saying that everybody's the same. What I'm saying is that we have to be able to look at our brothers and sisters and treat them equally. At the end of the day, it hasn't been an equal playing field in Puerto Rico. It's been a void. There's been a void in these areas. Even in the area of victims of domestic violence. I've sat here. If you come to my house, and some of the people that are on the phone here have come to my house, I don't have a television in my house. I've been here after Maria. I moved here after Maria. And basically, the vision was to put a plan together that we were going to do. Alberto and myself, we bought a farm. And originally what we were going to do was we were going to take the farm and we were going to do these programs in the farm. And, God said, nah, you don't have to do it in the farm. What you're going to have to do is you're going to have to take this jail and convert it into what I want you to convert it into. And the fact is that everybody that has touched this or has seen this or has gone by this or has talked to me about this has come into the situation. from the mayor to Alberto to Jeremy to Jimmy Bell. Jimmy Bell, I met him last year, and we talked on the phone, and I said to him, "Come down," and he caught a plane and he came down, and not only did he come down, he not only said yes, but that Christmas he came down to Puerto Rico to give kids toys in the children's hospital, in a playground of poor kids over here in Puerto Rico. The commitment was there. The commitment from everybody that has seen this project or has touched this project is really kind of, it shows the force of unity and love and respect for one another. It basically shows that there is a need out there, and people that have special places in special areas in the United States have been able to say to me, yes, that they would come down and they would do the things that we need in order to lift up Puerto Rico and these four municipalities, because we're going to start with four municipalities, and we're going to put these training programs in place for these four municipalities. And we are going to get success out of this place, because there is going to be no place like it. There is no place like it. Everybody that has really joined or has come into or has stepped onto the train, as I say to people, get on the train, because if you don't get on the train now, you're going to miss it. A lot of people have gotten on the train, as soon as they've heard what this is all about, what it entails, and how many other people are involved in this. It's just a special moment. It's a special moment of unity. It's a special moment of planning, because it's his plan. It's not our plan. He plans, we plan, and he laughs, and, he plans it the way he wants to plan it. And right now, the way he has planned it, he has put everybody in front of me on this journey. And I have been able to put these people onto this particular vision and mission that we have in Puerto Rico, because it's not a mission and vision that is not needed in other places. It definitely is needed in other places. There is deficiencies in foster care and in all of these particular areas that we're bringing to Puerto Rico. There is deficiencies in the United States, even in New York, New Jersey, Connecticut. People can tell you shortages in all these areas, that we need more training. We need to connect our young people to more good jobs. We need to connect our young people to more good colleges and universities. We need our young people to start leading in a way that they can look back at their neighbor and say, come on, let me help you, like we used to do. That used to be the way. When people look back, I remember when my uncle joined the union, and then my cousin joined the union, and then my other uncle joined the union, and his brother joined the union, and it became a family of union members, and it uplifted the family to another level. It got the economics to another level. Here we're trying to create construction jobs, as John said. We want to create construction jobs so this way we can create housing for seniors, so we can create housing for veterans, so we can create housing for low-income folks. And it is creating an economics in a community in four municipalities that doesn't have it. We are at the cusp of doing something that nobody has ever attempted to do. When I wrote this 12-year plan and showed it to somebody, they said, I think you're crazy, but sometimes crazy is genius. At the end of the day, I think that if I am crazy, I do have a lot of crazy people with me. So I love all of the crazy people that are with me. And I'm going to love them throughout this project. And I'm going to see this project through. And I'm going to see these 12 years go through so quickly that at the end of the day, people will look at this project and emulate this project in other places. That is the hope.
That's great, David. That's a great place for us to stop as a panel, but to quickly jump in to your first question, I think we can expand on that. So just for everybody who may not have them in front of us, the first question was, since Somos conference is about collaboration, how does the La Pica team work together in the planning and design of the project so that services are seamlessly done? So I think let's piggyback off of what David just said, because my response to this was the planning aspect of it is the vision part of the project. Let's come from an academic side of this. That's how I got involved. I was in my master's for museum studies. I'm a curator. And also I work on project management for, strategic initiatives. So you can't be afraid to fail. Like David said, he said, people said you're crazy. The first thing is you can't be afraid to fail. And then there must be delegation and clear communication. So the collaborating on ideas, that stimulates the action. But it's when you align different systems to one vision, that's the huge source of power here. It's the collaboration of these foundations that David has worked with in the past or has a connection to from New York or Puerto Rico that is giving this project the power. The fundraising, large and small, again, we have overlapping, but for example, John was talking about what he does, and David and I, we operate in completely different worlds professionally. But we've ended up at the same dinner at Somos. So when David and I were delegating fundraising between New York for me, Puerto Rico for him, it was my responsibility to call John and make sure that we weren't tapping into the same leaders on the same project. So you have to you have to assume responsibility and remove the ego. That's what's really created our momentum, I think, by David choosing the right people. We've had an inspired and a diverse board, which again avoids that stagnation that comes with. I know you're a business and an entrepreneurship class. Really, that's sort of where you don't want to be, because once there becomes stagnation, you lose that momentum, and then people fall off. So, as far as development with your professor, he came on and he really helped us with the agendas, the schedule, and obviously honesty. He would say it if something wasn't working. He would say it, and then lastly, I'll close on. The design of the project was the mission, and as David can touch on this more, it was dependent upon the collaboration. It's too large for any one foundation to take this on. So if we think of this as a university campus, all the departments that run their infrastructure and daily practices separately are all the foundations that are brought onto this. But we are under the umbrella of one mission. And then for it to be seamless, I don't know if anything can ever be seamless, but as seamless that can be, it's because of then where we bring in our legal signed contracts and boundaries of practice. So let's not forget about that. We are very, very largely driven visionary board, but because of that, you have to have the structure. And I think that's where John and David really touched on best is they've created the mission contract, and then we've all been able to expand on our own projects within. So I'm looking at, it's 8:40 now, and is everybody still there?
Yeah.
We're all still there. Okay.
I'm still here.
We're all still there. Because I'm on my phone, I don't see the large screen of students, but Eddie, maybe if you want to field some questions through the hands or however your class normally handles it. And then, David, you can answer the most if anybody wants to bring up that specific sports facility question. Obviously, Jimmy, you can field that one. But let's take maybe like 10 minutes before you close up your class.
Sure. Let me
Okay.
see if there's any of the students have any questions? I know that the questions I sent you were questions that were posed to me that I sent to you. So let's work off of that list.
Yes. Okay. So the number two, we said John and David, and I'm not sure if they fully addressed it already. What ways do you plan to implement, and has the project done an assessment on what workforce readiness training the local community wants? Or is the project assuming that it's what the workforce plan is? So I don't know. Also, Adalberto might want to touch on this after David.
Yeah, no, first and foremost, there's an assessment that is going to be done. There was no assessment done, but there's 4 municipalities, and we know that there is over, I think, 2,500 HUD homes that are destroyed and basically need to be worked on. So that is a workforce development in itself. John, I think if we took that 2,500 and we multiplied it by 4 folks, it's about 10,000 jobs. As far as Puerto Rico is concerned, they need workforce development and job training on basically construction, on agriculture, on energy efficiency. These are the areas that are they most need people in Puerto Rico for. And those are the jobs that are going to be future jobs.
Yeah. Let me just quickly chime in because the hard data is a little hard to come by. Governmental statistics are always about a year or two behind. But anecdotally and just in conversations we have, we know that there are opportunities and need for the next generation of workers, especially if we're fostering business development like housing and agriculture, but also especially in transportation, in mechanics, in commercial driving, but especially infrastructure, which is publicly funded. It's no secret that the entire grid, the electrical provision, the telecommunications, water access, these are all these are in-demand occupations in a number of levels.
Yep.
The involvement of CWE and the union movement of New York City in particular is critical because they have all these job training curricula already developed. And as we move forward with their involvement, the idea is to build a state-of-the-art training center there in Jayuya that's going to be able to prepare people for these jobs while we're going through the process of developing and augmenting the local economy. So it's I hate to say something's not data-driven with any certainty, but we are learning, and we will continue to do the on the ground, and the local relationships will inform this.
Thanks, John.
Okay, I mean, we did touch on a couple of other questions, so I just want to jump quickly because there were 2 questions about how we'll be using the sports facility to also give access to the local community, to help those who aren't interested in sports. What other ways will we create a pipeline to college with scholarship options? And on that note, what assessment has been conducted to determine that the idea of sports complex resonates with the local community? And then part 2 of that, I'd like you guys to talk about, has there been any contact with the other sports associations? We're talking about football, but baseball and soccer are already very prevalent in the area. Have we connected with them? So that's a David and Jimmy question, correct?
Yes.
Yep. Yes. I'm gonna start this couple different things. One, we haven't done an assessment. We haven't done an assessment. 2, no, we haven't yet sought out any collaborations locally. And I'll tell you part of the reason why. So I've been in contact with the NFL, and part of my drive in this is, and I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna come forward too. How does can you hear me? How can the non-athletic people benefit? Because we're building relationships through athletics with the educational college institutions. Listen, it makes no sense to me that the mainland don't come to Puerto Rico to get one of the most incredible commodities, and that's Puerto Ricans, right? For intellectual, for hard work, education, as well as athletics. So they don't necessarily see the value yet. But I know the value's there. I'll give you guys a quick example, and I've shared this with the group. If you look at baseball, which all Caribbean plays, the Major League Baseball right now is run by Caribbeans, right? Caribbeans, Europeans, that's how it is now. It used to be African Americans, but it's not. Well, check it out. Callers World Series, when you watch the Callers World Series, you don't hear any Caribbean names. You don't hear any Puerto Rican names. You don't hear any Spanish names. You don't hear any Dominican names. You know why? Because it's play baseball physically or do sports, Major League Baseball or bust. Well, that's asinine because you're leaving out a whole incredible middle part to the success of your generation, and that's education. This whole thing when it comes to sports is just a foundation. It's just a platform to get to education, to get to the socioeconomic piece, right? To get to the American so-called mainland educational institutions to see the value in coming down and seeing the value in Puerto Rico instead of everybody trying to find a way to get out of Puerto Rico to show people their value. You shouldn't have to leave Puerto Rico for people to understand how much value is on the island. And that we're just using athletics as a platform. Two, the other thing is, so with this athletic facility, which is going to be awesome, is that it's also going to be a facility for tournaments, AAU, from football to basketball to baseball to soccer, field hockey, volleyball. So this is also going to be a hub of international tournaments, which actually happen already prevalently in the U.S. and even on the island. One of the times I was on the island, I have a relationship with a particular college, and it was a Division III college, and they had an incredibly prevalent tournament that no one knew about on the island, right? And I told David, I said, listen, this is what I'm talking about. The crazy thing is that people were spending money and investing money. Schools were traveling from all across the country in America. Not many people in Puerto Rico knew about it, though.
Yep.
You see what I'm saying? So what we're doing, so I don't want to get caught up in the athletics necessarily. The athletics is just a platform to enhance the educational piece, the credential piece, the socioeconomic piece to the program, if that makes sense to everyone.
Yeah, it does. Thank you, Jimmy.
Hey, can I throw something just quickly on top of that?
Sure.
Which is
throw it all away.
Someone's got to build it. Someone's got to maintain it. Someone's got to be there to open the doors. Someone's got to be there to coach. People have to be there, to run the concessions, each and every one of the things we're discussing, whether it's the schools, the foster care, youth centers, the training centers, the housing, supportive housing, whether it be senior housing, residential housing. This is an economic boom and job creations engine for the surrounding municipalities. Just in their most static form, we are talking about bringing money down into this area. So even aside from those who will participate and aspire, every one of those moments, it's like, they say in construction, behind every hammer, there's 7 jobs. And those jobs are in the supply chain, the manufacture, the transportation, the delivery, the professional, administration of all these. Just opening that center is going to create a massive amount of local jobs for our surrounding communities. So it's not just aspirational. It's not just the 1 out of 100 who's going to make it through. We're talking about when you put a facility of this size and scope on the ground, you're talking of hundreds of local jobs. Someone's got to grow the food, move the food, cook the food, get the food. You know what I mean? So it really is it becomes sustaining. You end up with a a stream of economic development that ends up in local hands. So I just wanted to add that additional counterpoint.
Incredible.
Thank you.
Fantastic.
Thank you, guys. Thanks, John. Thanks, Jimmy. Well, let's see. It's 8:51. I want to thank everybody for giving their most important asset, their time tonight. Eddie, is there something else that we missed?
No,
Ran through
no.
those questions. I think we definitely don't have time, which would have been nice, but maybe if your class wants more feedback, it was just on the social entrepreneurship, the idea of the revenue generating models. And
Yeah,
I think with the farm, yeah.
I think what we wanna, Alberto, si puede hablar sobre, and David, if you want to quickly translate sobre el cómo van a desarrollar la posibilidad de vender la agricultura que van a crecer en la Pica. ¿Cómo están pensando hacer eso?
¿Tú quieres que yo empiece, Alberto?
Bueno.
Si tú quieres empezar, empieza. Go ahead.
I'm gonna start now. If you can, follow me up.
Go ahead.
So, I am an agronomist by profession. I studied for 5 years in the University of Puerto Rico. For 5 years, I have 15 years of experience working in agriculture in Puerto Rico, and the place that we are going to develop the project is used to be a jail, but not just a jail. They are used to have an agricultural program that the people that is still there, they develop agricultural project already. So in that place, they exist already structure to develop agricultural project that is already exist, like pig farm, coffee farm, and it's already there. It's just to restart it again,
Mm-hmm.
And Jimmy Bell already saw it, Elizabeth saw it, and David already know that once we start to develop the program, we can start
Start making money.
We can start making income and
Yes.
we can making income
Right.
for the project, developing the pig farm, the coffee farm, and I'm the master in that. So
Okay.
Excellent.
Gracias.
Excellent.
Go ahead,
Thank you.
exactly, not just to make money, but making the community to participating in the program. They can start helping us to develop para desarrollar lo que son los programas agrícolas.
Right.
Excellent.
Tenemos 300 cuerdas. We have 300 acres to develop whatever we can do with agriculture. And right now we are on the best place to grow whatever we can grow. We have 4 times the around the year. We don't have we don't
Crop rotation?
He's talking about seasons
we have
Yeah.
instead of 2 seasons of growth, we have 4. So
Right.
it's, for example, we have 4 level of seasons to grow whatever we can grow. So whatever we can do lo que queramos crecer en el proyecto, tenemos cuatro etapas que podemos hacerlo y podemos crecer ya sea vegetales o la crianza de conejos, la crianza de cerdo, la crianza de gallinas ponedoras o la siembra de cualquier tipo de cultivo que queramos crecer, lo podemos hacer en este ambiente que nosotros tenemos en Puerto Rico. Así que la agricultura es uno de los programas más importantes que podemos llevar a cabo en el programa que queramos implementar en este proyecto que queramos llevar a cabo en el proyecto de la Pica. No solamente queremos llevar a cabo este proyecto, sino que queremos incluir a la comunidad, que para mí es lo más importante, ¿verdad? Porque yo pertenezco a la comunidad de la Pica, mi familia es de la comunidad de la Pica, mi mamá todavía vive aquí en la comunidad de la Pica. Y para mí es sumamente importante el desarrollo de la comunidad, porque todo el que me conoce a mí sabe que yo estoy viviendo para el mejoramiento de la calidad de vida de los que todavía pertenecemos a la comunidad de la Pica. Nosotros,
Beautiful.
para que tengan conocimiento, el agua no pertenece al gobierno. El agua nosotros lo adquirimos de la comunidad. Así que el agua potable que cada quien tiene en su casa depende de lo que nosotros como la comunidad hagamos. Así que eso mismo que hacemos nosotros con el agua, lo queremos hacer con la economía, con la energía eléctrica y que yo le pueda devolver a mi comunidad lo que ellos me dieron a mí cuando yo era niño. Así que con la ayuda de ustedes, con la ayuda de ustedes, yo quiero devolverle a mi comunidad lo que ella me dio en algún momento a mí. Aparte de el agua potable que ellos reciben, que reciban también la economía y que reciban la energía eléctrica. Y aparte de eso, que nosotros podamos reemplazar lo que fue en algún momento una cárcel o un lugar donde las personas estaban presos, que tengan la oportunidad de entrar y que tengan la oportunidad de participar de un lugar donde puedan mejorar la calidad de vida.
Amén. Amén.
Así que
Okay.
yo
Gracias,
soy un profesional agrícola, ¿verdad?
Yep.
Y nosotros ahí podemos desarrollar lo que es la producción de huevos del país, la producción de conejos, la producción de carne de cerdo del país, lo que es la producción de ganado caprino, la producción de ganado de, de ay Dios mío.
No te apures. Anyway,
Well, it's 9 o'clock. Yes, I wanted, David, you had something to end it with, because we're gonna shut it down.
Yeah.
All right. So, yo soy de aquí, así que todo lo que pueda yo aportar, aquí estamos.
Gracias, Alberto.
Gracias. Gracias. So, are we good? Do we?
Oh.
Yeah, I think we're good.
Okay.
I think so.
Okay.
I'm sorry for the technical difficulties this evening, everybody, and I hope everybody enjoyed it. Thank you so much for inviting us to your class
No
tonight,
problem.
Professor.
And what I'll do is I recorded this Zoom, so when I download it as a link, I'll send it to Elizabeth and the La Pica crew, so you
Right.
can look at and learn from what you said or what you didn't say, and which is a good learning tool. And I'll
Yes.
also share with my class because they have to write a one-page overview of this presentation. So,
Oh,
and I will share some of those with you as well. So thanks a lot for hopping on. Okay.
Fantastic.
well, thank you so
Professor,
much.
thank you, and thanks for the class.
Thank
And
you.
Alberto,
thank you all for your
gracias.
time.
David, thank
Gracias.
you. John, thank you. And Jimmy, thanks a lot, brother. I really
And
appreciate
Elizabeth,
it.
thanks for
Thank you.
organizing.
Thank you.
All right.
Good night, Professor.
Thank
Good night,
you.
everybody.
All right,
All the
class.
best.
Take care, everybody. And I think
All right.
I think I'm gonna meet with Matt today, right after class. Are you still
All
here,
right.
Matt?
Yes. Yes.
All right, good.
All right. Good night.
All right, John. Take care.
All the
Alberto,
best.
nos vemos, brother. Nos vemos en
Dale.
noviembre. Dale.
Gracias por
Gracias,
todo. Los
hermano.
amo.
Seguro. Dale. All right. So let's wait till everybody hops off, and then you and I, Matt, we'll have our little one-on-one.
Sounds good. Thank you so much for your time, Professor. That means a lot.
This was an interesting presentation.
Yeah.
You have a good night,
I like
Professor.
how they pointed
You
it out.
too. What'd you say, Matthew?
I really liked how he, was it was very lively. It wasn't
Yeah.
like you're not only talking to.
What you guys got to see was a group of people trying to figure out how to create a social enterprise.
Yeah, and I think I've realized that. I mean, I know it's like it's difficult to like venture that, and I'm thinking about this assignment and everything. I didn't